Hi guys, I'm Lisa. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing my O.W.L.s TBR. The O.W.Ls are a part of the magical readathon. It's a readathon that is set in the wizarding world of Harry Potter, which is very fun. I'm so stoked for it. This is actually my first time participating. I've known about it pretty much since it started, but when it started I was in like a massive book slump or reading slump, and it just wasn't gonna happen. This is the first year that I'm like ready to read. And I don't necessarily have a ton of time for it, but I'm totally gonna like make the time for it. If you don't know how the magical readathon works, I'm not gonna get into it here, but I will definitely leave a link to the announcement video for O.W.L.s where G at Book Roast goes over the whole thing. And yeah, let's just get into it. There are a bunch of careers to choose from, and I had a really hard time choosing. There were several careers that I was considering, but I ended up choosing one based on the prompts. I know a lot of people choose based on like what the career is, but I chose based on the prompts. I looked at the prompts and everything, and then I chose a few different careers that I felt like I could realistically complete, and then I chose a career from that basically. So the career I chose is an orologist. It's basically a person that can read the auras of people, which I think is really cool. To be an orologist, you have to pass 3 O.W.Ls. You have to pass astronomy, divination, and history of magic, which I'll get into the prompts for those as I'm going through my TBR. So for the first prompt, astronomy, it's night classes. Read majority of this book when it's dark outside. So it can be any book, you just have to read it when it's dark outside, or most of it when it's dark outside. For this one, I actually had a hard time choosing what to read. I was swaying a couple of different ways, but ultimately I chose a contemporary because if I'm reading this like right before bed, I don't want to have like dreams of fantasy wars and things like that. It's just not what I'm into right now. That in mind, I chose Chain Reaction by O.W.L.s. This is the 3rd book in a series of contemporary books. These are not necessarily light, fluffy books because they do tend to cover kind of serious topics. Each book follows a brother. There's 3 brothers in 3 books. The 3rd book follows the youngest brother, Louis, who is kind of a good kid. He doesn't get into a lot of trouble. He knows where he wants to go in life. However, his brothers in the previous 2 books, they were kind of troublemakers. They got into a lot of trouble. They were kind of going with crowds that weren't necessarily good for them. And in this book, Louis, the good brother, the one that behaves, falls for a girl who is also in this crowd of people who aren't necessarily doing good things. And obviously this is contemporary, so when I'm saying they're not doing good things, I mean they're in the world of like gangs and perhaps drugs. I can't actually remember if that's a feature of the series, but they're just kind of like up to no good. And so this book follows him, and we kind of see if he changes to match the world of the girl he's in love with, or if he stays true to himself. I don't really know like major plot points for this, obviously, because I haven't read it. But I actually haven't really like read much of the synopsis either, so this is going to be kind of interesting for me. I read Rules of Attraction so long ago. I don't even remember how long ago it was. I think it's been a couple of years. So I'm going to have to reorient myself with the series before I get into this, but this will be my astronomy class book. So the next O.W.L. that I have to pass is for divination class, and we're focusing on 3rd eye. Assign numbers to your TBR and use a random number generator to pick your read. So I thought it would be fun if I had you guys follow along with me on this one. So we're going to switch over to my other camera at the bookshelf and get into what we're going to be reading. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is I have a number generator on my phone, and I'll use that to choose the numbers that I'm going to use. Before we get into it though, I did set a couple of guidelines for myself. The count is going to go from top to bottom, left to right. Anything that's turned around will not be counted. But you can see over here, anything that's turned around means I read it, or it's like an exception to the count. So like I have a collection of interviews with Bob Dylan that I don't necessarily want to have to rush through the readathon. House of Leaves is on there because I don't want to have to rush through that in the readathon. Just stuff like that. Everything else is all books that I read, and I don't want to do rereads for this. So I have my books organized alphabetically, so I'm going to do 2 different counts. One is going to be to choose what shelf I start counting at. So it's going to go top to bottom. There's 6 shelves. So if I get like shelf 2, I will start on shelf 2. I'm going to do another roll that has all of my unread books. There's 105 unread books. So from shelf 2, I will start counting 105. This is just so that I don't get like 104 and I'm like, well, I know exactly what book that is. It has a different starting point depending on where the count lands. I just feel like it works better that way. Last but not least, I have some series in here. A lot of them I haven't started. If I happen to land on like book 3 of a series and I haven't even started the series or something, I will read book 1 instead. I think that's it. So I have a couple of number generators on my phone. I'm just gonna use the prettiest one. We're gonna start with a minimum of 1 and a max of 6. I'll hold the phone up so that you guys can hold me accountable. And we're gonna start at shelf 5. Okay, and so now we're gonna change 6 to 105 because that's how many books I have. We're gonna count to 102. Of course we're gonna count to 102, why not? So I'm not gonna change the camera just yet. I'm gonna start my count with the camera still where it is, and then once I start getting to the end, I'll take it off and do a vlog style for you guys. Just a moment.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. Okay, so we ended at 44 down there. Also, I'm like not breathing while I'm counting and it's making me really lightheaded. 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, nice, 70.
Okay, we're at 87. We're getting close to the end. Let's do this vlog style now. You know, I feel really close to you right now. I just love it when we can bond like this, you know? Okay, we're doing it vlog style now. So Ashes to Ashes was 87.
88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102.
Hi guys, I'm editing right now and I just noticed that I actually stopped on 105 instead of 102, which was supposed to be Tell Me Lies. So since I already have my TBR all picked out and everything, I will just choose between Stalking Jack the Ripper and Tell Me Lies when I get to that point. My bad.
103, 104.
105, it's Stalking Jack the Ripper. I'm not really mad about it. There was a lot of books on this shelf that I was like, I really hope that I don't get that right now, and Stalking Jack the Ripper wasn't one of those. I'm okay with this choice. Although it feels thicker than I remember it being. It's okay though. So as I said over there, I'm not actually mad that this book came up. It is the first book in a series, but I think the books are more like companions rather than like a fluid storyline of a series, which is perfect because I'm not trying to get into like really solid series where I have to like remember all the characters and remember all the storylines and just all that, because I have way too many series in progress already. Besides this being Jack the Ripper, I actually don't really know what it's about. I know it says I was the girl who loved the Ripper, which is interesting because he's a murderer. So, but I've heard like mixed things about this book. I'm excited to read it. This seems like something that I would enjoy. So I do have an e-reader and I have a lot of ebooks on my TBR that I would like to read. So for divination, I'm actually going to choose another book on my TBR. So I have my reading journal right here and I have all of the books listed and numbered. So same thing as with the shelf. I'm just going to pop the number in, choose one, and that'll just be another book that I can choose for divination if for some reason I don't want to read Stalking Jack the Ripper. So it says I have 82 books on my ebook TBR, which is freaking bonkers. Let's type that in, randomize, came up with number 10. So number 10 is We Set the Dark on Fire. So I don't actually know like anything about this book. It was probably like on sale for $2.99 or like free or something. I don't really know. I can very vividly picture the cover right now. Synopsis, not so much. Okay, moving on from divination, the last class that I have to take an OWL for is History of Magic, which is Witch Hunt, book featuring witches or wizards. So the book I chose for this prompt was The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. This book, I think, is like one of the only books on my shelf that has to do with witches that I know of. I mean, there's probably more, but that I know of, this is the only one. So it says, welcome to the cursed town of Sparrow. 2 centuries ago, 3 sisters were sentenced to death for witchery. Stones were tied to their ankles and they were drowned in the deep waters surrounding the town. Ugh. Which, okay, I said but I'm like totally stoked for this. I really like things about like witch hunts and witch trials, and you know, I think it's a really fun topic. Not fun as in like fun times, but it's interesting. Anyway, continuing with the synopsis. Now for a brief time each summer, the sisters return, stealing the bodies of 3 troubled girls so that they may seek their revenge, luring boys into Sparrow's harbor and pulling them under. Ooh! Anyway, I'm not going to continue reading. There's like a whole bunch of drama that happens, you know, as you do. I think there might be a romance. Although on the very last line it says, but only Penny sees what others cannot, and she will be forced to choose save Bo or save herself. Like, ugh. Ooh, the drama. I have seen some like good and bad things about this one, so I'm hoping it's good because I'm really anticipating it. I'm excited for that book in particular on this list. I'm excited for all of them, but that one I'm like, it's actually a book that I just got recently too. So this is the TBR for my orology career. This is technically all that I have to complete for the O.W.Ls this year. I had thought about doing a longer career, but I honestly don't think that realistically I'll be able to do that because you know, like work, school, Animal Crossing, you know how it is. However, this year G came out with like some seminars, like little extras that you can do in addition to your career, and there's one that I really enjoy the synopsis of. The description. Anyway, it's animagus training. You can learn how to shapeshift into an animal. I'm so excited. Which I think actually pairs with my job pretty decently, because an orologist, you're reading the auras of people. And if you're an animagus, you can like switch to a cat or whatever and be like, oh, I'm a cat, I can see your... I'm not going to continue with that dialogue, whatever. So as with the career choices, there are O.W.Ls and Newts for the seminar training. The O.W.Ls for animagus training are arithmancy, potions, and transfiguration. And I have already chosen some tentative books to do for that, considering I can actually get to it. So arithmancy is magical qualities of number 2, balance and opposites. Read something outside your favorite genre. So I don't really have like a favorite genre. I do gravitate toward YA fantasy a lot and like contemporaries and stuff like that. So with that in mind, I chose my March book of the month pick, which was A Good Neighborhood by Therese Ann Fowler. I almost didn't even get this book. I was thinking about switching my March book of the month subscription, but I figured I'm subscribed to it to like read new books, and what's the point of me even having it if I'm not like challenging myself in like the reading sphere. This book, I don't actually know much about it. I know it takes place in a neighborhood, obviously, and I think there's like 2 teenagers at 2 different houses, and they start like a little romance, and it causes some tension in the neighborhood. One of the kids is of mixed race, and then I think the other one is like white, and I have a feeling it's like racial tensions, but I don't really know. This is one that I'm actually looking forward to. Like, I know it's outside of my comfort zone, but it sounds interesting to me. I just don't read like a lot of adult books like this, you know? So the next O.W.L that I need to pass for animagus training is Potions, which is Shrinking Solution, a book under 150 pages. I thought I had more books under 150 pages than I actually do. I only had like 2. The other books that I thought were under were like 200 pages. The book I did end up choosing is The House on Mango Street. Now this is kind of a reread, but kind of not, because I have read like majority of the book, but I never finished it. Which I know a lot of people are gonna be like, what? But I've never finished it. This book has 110 pages, so it definitely meets the mark. I can't actually remember what this is about, but I do know that there's like little excerpts, little stories from this girl's life. To be honest, when I was reading this last time, I remember not really like getting the point, how it was gonna wrap up, which I'm sorry, I know a lot of people love this. I know of one friend in particular that really loves this book, and she was like excited to see that I had bought it when I bought it. But yeah, when I was reading it the first time, I was like, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe this is one of those books that you have to read at like the right time in your life, but I don't know. It's a short book. I don't know why it's been sitting on my shelf unfinished for so long, but this readathon is gonna be the time that I finish it. Maybe if I can get to Animagus training. Yeah. Last but not least for Animagus training, the last owl I need is Transfiguration. Why did I say it like that? Transfiguration? Anyway, we're doing Animagus lecture, book or series that includes shape-shifting. Now, when I first saw this, I was like, I definitely don't want to get that prompt. I have absolutely no idea what I would choose for that. And I was thinking about it, and I went, wait a minute. Howl's Moving Castle totally has shape-shifting. Now, if you've never read it and you see this, you're like, I don't know how that has shape-shifting, but it totally has shape-shifting. By the way, if you've never like seen this movie or anything, definitely recommend it. It's my favorite Studio Ghibli movie. The movie, in fact, is based off of this book. I know it's not exactly the same, but there are a lot of similarities from what I hear. Now, glancing over the back, Sophie's still there, Howl is still there, the Witch of the Waste is there. I flipped through some of the pages and I saw that Calcifer is still there, which is really exciting. I'm really stoked for it. This book, basically, we're following Sophie, who is turned into an old woman by the Witch of the Waste. She's usually not an old woman. She's like early 20s or something, I think. And she's turned into an old woman, and the only person who can reverse this curse on her is Howl, who lives in this moving castle. Howl is kind of mysterious, and he's like hard to track down, and you know, drama ensues. It's really fun. I love it. Like, honestly, oh, go watch the movie, read the book. It's so good. I'm excited to read the book. Obviously, I've never read it before, so I'm really stoked for this one. Side note, I feel like I love to say drama ensues when I don't know what a book is about. Anyway, that is all of the classes. That is all the owls I have to take. This is the nice little book stack. Half of it is what I need to read to pass my owls. And the bottom half is the ones for the seminar that are not required, but I would like to get to. Looking at it this way, this is like a nice little big old chunk of book that I need to read, which, you know, I don't really think it's gonna happen, but I am very determined to get at least the Orologist career done. I'm gonna pass all my owls for that one, and then we'll see about the Animagus training when we get to it. But yeah, let me know if you guys are planning on doing the magical readathon. If you are, what career are you doing? Are you doing any seminars? What books are you reading? Actually, also, what Hogwarts house are you in? And guess what mine is down below. Other than that, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.